Welcome to another deep dive. We're cracking open Noosh Down, How to Become Legendary by Being Different by Christopher Lochhead and Heather Clancy.
Oh, this one's great.
I know, right? So Lochhead, he's like this big-time tech entrepreneur, right?
Right.
And Clancy, she's a veteran tech journalist. And they're making this really bold claim. They say that instead of always trying to be better, we should be aiming to be different.
Like, totally different.
Exactly. And they argue that this whole idea of carving out a unique niche, that's the real secret to achieving legendary status, whether you're talking about an individual or a company.
It's such a fascinating premise. And what's really striking is how they back it up. They don't just use, like, inspiring stories. They use data and a clear framework for taking action.
And right off the bat, they hit us with this startling statistic. They say that entrepreneurship rates are at historic lows.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is. And they connect this to research from MIT that shows that a lot of entrepreneurs, they fail because they're trying to compete in these crowded markets by just being better.
It's the Me Too trap.
It is. So how do they propose that we break free from this, like, better than trap?
Well, they introduced this concept that they call the 7-minute abs disaster. They use that hilarious scene from There's Something About Mary.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You know, the idea is that if your whole strategy is just about being a little bit better than the competition, like offering 7-minute abs when everybody else have 8-minute abs.
You're doomed to fail.
Right. It's such a funny analogy, but it drives home a really serious point.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is trying to beat the competition at their own game, is that really the best approach?
I don't think so.
I don't either. The book argues that it's much more effective to create a whole new game altogether. You know, a game where you can be the undisputed champion.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole concept of category design comes in.
Right, because you can try to be better than Coca-Cola on taste.
Right, which is what Pepsi always tried to do.
Right, but what if Pepsi had, like, created a whole new category of beverages?
That would have been smart.
I think so. And the book points out that these category kings, the companies that, like, define and dominate their space, they capture the lion's share of the market value.
It's wild. The research suggests that they capture like 76% of the total value in their market. 76%.
That is wild. So it's a powerful reminder that being different isn't just like a feel-good concept. It's actually a really huge strategic advantage.
Absolutely.
And they use the example of Dell computers. Dell was once a dominant player in the PC market.
Oh, for sure. I remember when everyone had a Dell.
I know. And now they're less relevant. And that's because the market itself shifted and moved towards cloud computing and mobile devices.
They got disrupted.
It's almost like a case of category violence. The game itself changes. And if you haven't adapted to the new game,
You get left behind.
you get less behind.
And the book dives into all these fascinating examples to illustrate how individuals and companies achieve legendary status by just carving out their own unique niche.
There's so many good examples.
I know, right?
What's your favorite?
One that really stood out to me was John DeVore. He's the Alaskan skydiver who saw the rise of wingsuit flying and base jumping.
Oh, wow. Before they were even really a thing.
Way before they became mainstream. Like,
Yeah.
he was ahead of his time. And he didn't just want to be another instructor. You know, he wanted to shape the future of this whole entire sport.
Like, have an impact beyond just his own personal success.
Exactly.
And I think DeVore's story really highlights how niching down isn't just about business. It's about aligning your passions with, like, this unique contribution that you can make to the world.
And the book is packed with examples like that that really bring that idea to life.
It is.
Like Method, you know, Method cleaning product.
I love Method.
They didn't just position themselves as better cleaning products. They positioned themselves as the pioneers of eco-friendly cleaning.
Right, like that whole category is because of them.
Yeah, and then there's TerraCycle.
Oh, the company that finds value in trash.
Yeah, they're tackling that huge challenge of hard-to-recycle waste.
Right, and that's their whole thing.
It's so cool.
It is.
And they even highlight smaller niche success stories, like John's Crazy Socks.
Oh, yeah, the ones with all the fun designs.
Right. This is like a father and son business, and they sell all these colorful socks. And they donate a portion of their profits to the Special Olympics.
That's awesome.
It's such a feel-good example of how a company can succeed by tapping into the emotional appeal of cause-driven marketing.
Right. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, huge conglomerate.
Exactly. And it proves that you can make a real impact even in a small market.
So it's not just about being different.
Right.
There's more to it.
There is.
So what's the missing ingredient? What takes a niche from interesting to legendary?
The authors emphasize that you need to become an evangelist for your niche. You have to articulate its value in a way that's really convincing. Like you have to capture the imagination of your audience.
Hmm. So it's not just about creating it, it's about selling it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking back to how Apple launched the iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't just focus on the specs and features.
Right.
They showed how the iPhone solved everyday problems and how it could make your life better.
Like they showed you how to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were conditioning the market to see its value in a way that no one had really done before.
It was brilliant.
It was.
It's about shaping perceptions and creating a demand for something that people didn't even know they needed.
It makes me think about John's crazy socks.
Yeah, what about them?
Remember when they gifted socks to President George H.W. Bush?
Oh, yeah, that was a smart move.
And it resulted in this, like, high-profile endorsement.
They got so much press from that.
I know. And it was this single event. It's what the authors call a lightning strike. It put them on the map.
That's a good term, lightning strike.
It is. It makes me wonder, how can we create these lightning strikes in our own endeavors? What bold moves can we make to capture attention and establish ourselves as leaders in our chosen niche?
That's a question worth pondering for sure. I mean, it's about understanding that niching down isn't about hiding in a corner. It's about confidently claiming your space and making a bold statement to the world.
So you're not shrinking. You're expanding in this really focused way.
Right.
And one crucial aspect of that is building your ecosystem.
You can't do it alone.
Right. So it's not just about like solo success. It's about building a network of supporters and partners and advocates.
Precisely. They highlight Jack O'Neill.
The wetsuit guy.
Yeah, the founder of the wetsuit company. He didn't just sell wetsuits. He fostered a whole community around surfing.
He even trademarked the term surf shop.
He did.
So smart.
Yeah, and there's Rich Novak, the skateboarding pioneer. He actively organized the industry, fostered collaboration, and even started Thrasher magazine to support the entire ecosystem.
Like grow the whole pie rather than just fighting for a bigger slice.
Exactly. And these examples show that category design and niching down are about so much more than just profits. It's about passion. It's about making a difference and building something that's bigger than yourself.
Which can be scary.
Oh, it can be very scary.
The book acknowledges that being different requires us to challenge the status quo and defy this like pack mentality.
That instinct to just fit in.
Exactly.
They use the example of Jay Alex. He's the guy who founded Alex Partners. It's a consulting firm.
Okay.
And they specialize in turnarounds and bankruptcies.
Oh, so like the not so glamorous side of consulting.
Exactly. At the time, it was a really radical niche.
And now every major consulting firm offers those services.
That's right. It seems like their success validated the need and created this whole new category within the consulting world.
Which makes you think, what seemingly risky niche is just waiting to be discovered and redefined?
It's an exciting thought, isn't it? And that's really what this whole deep dive is all about. It's about encouraging you to ask those tough questions, to explore your passions, and to consider how you might make a unique contribution to the world.
Okay, so let's pause here for a moment and reflect on what we've uncovered so far. What's resonating with you most from niche down? And what problems do you see in your industry that are just ripe for a niche solution? We'll be back in a moment to dive even deeper into the book's wisdom.
One of the things that really hit home for me in Niche Down was their focus on the magic triangle.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. It's that idea that you need more than just a fantastic product or service to hit legendary status.
Right, like it takes more than just a good idea.
Exactly. It's about having the right product, but also the right company and being in the right category. They argue that all three of these things have to be in sync.
Like working in perfect harmony.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like when you build a house. You have to start with a really strong foundation. And in this case, that foundation is your category design.
So true. And one of the best examples they use is Pleasant Rowland, the woman who created American Girl dolls.
Oh, yeah, she's brilliant.
I know. She saw this gap in the market. Like there
Yeah.
was this need for dolls that had real stories and historical context.
Totally. And she created this whole new category that was a huge hit with both kids and parents.
It wasn't just about playing dress up. American Girl dolls were about connecting with history and inspiring a kid's imagination.
And before American Girl, the only real option was Barbie.
Right, and Barbie's a totally different category.
It is. Barbie's about fashion and this idealized version of adulthood.
But Rowland came along and challenged those assumptions. She offered something that was truly different.
And parents were more than happy to pay a premium for that difference.
Which goes to show that sometimes finding your niche means creating a whole new market, not just trying to compete in an existing one.
Right. It's about creating something new rather than trying to be a slightly better version of what's already out there. And to do that, you need to really understand the emotional needs of your audience. You need to craft a story that resonates with them on a deeper level.
Like, think about Goldilocks, that company that makes STEM toys for girls.
Oh, I love them.
Deborah Sterling, the founder, she saw this massive gap in the market for toys that would get girls excited about careers in the science and engineering.
Right, because most of the construction toys are marketed toward boys.
Right, which reinforces all these gender stereotypes that can really limit girls' opportunity.
And at first, everyone thought she was crazy. The toy industry was like, this will never work.
They told her it wouldn't sell.
But she stuck to her guns. She launched this incredibly successful Kickstarter campaign, and now Goldilocks is this worldwide phenomenon.
What's amazing is how much pushback she got, even from the venture capital world.
Which is still pretty much dominated by men.
It is. It just underscores how much courage it takes to truly niche down. It often means going against the grain, challenging the status quo, and believing in your vision, even when other people doubt you.
And niche down doesn't shy away from the fear that comes with being different.
Oh, no. They talk about it a lot.
They do. It's scary to put yourself out there, to do something that's truly unique.
Because as humans, we're basically pack animals.
Right, we crave safety in numbers.
Exactly. So going against that instinct and standing out from the crowd can feel incredibly risky.
I think about restaurants. You know, if you're walking down the street and you see a restaurant that's packed with people.
You assume it's good.
Right. You're like, oh, this place must be great.
You feel safe going in there, like it's social proof.
Exactly. But if you see an empty restaurant.
That's a red flag.
Right. Your brain's like, danger, stay away.
It's so funny how deep this pack mentality runs.
It really is. And that's why niching down can feel so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And kind of swimming upstream.
But the book makes a very strong case for why it's worth it. It shows time and time again that the rewards for those who dare to be different, they can be extraordinary.
And once you've found that niche and you've summoned the courage to go for it, the next challenge is figuring out how to be an effective evangelist for your idea.
You have to spread the word.
Right, because it's not enough to just create something different. You have to be able to articulate its value in a way that your audience understands.
It's like you're educating the market.
Exactly.
And niche down, they use Apple as an example.
Right.
But they also highlight these smaller businesses like J&D's Foods.
The bacon salt company.
Yeah, they were marketing geniuses. Remember that bacon-flavored lip balm?
And the bacon coffin.
It was hilarious. They used humor and a little absurdity to get people's attention. And it worked. They built a huge following.
It's about creating those moments that the authors call lightning strikes.
Those strategic events that make a splash.
Right, those things that solidify your position as a leader in your category. Like John Crazy Socks giving socks to President Bush.
Or Mike Maples Jr. throwing that big 40th birthday party.
Oh yeah, he invited everyone in his network.
It was this bold move that helped him establish his venture capital firm, Floodgate. Like, they became known for funding companies that create new categories.
He knew how to get noticed.
He did.
And it's not just about grabbing attention. It's about creating a whole ecosystem of supporters. They use Jack O'Neill as an example.
The wetsuit guy.
Yeah. He didn't just sell wetsuits. He created a whole community around surfing. And then there's Rich Novak, the skateboarding pioneer.
He was a big believer in collaboration.
He was. He organized the whole skateboarding industry.
Trying to grow the market for everyone.
Exactly.
And TerraCycle. They partnered with all sorts of companies to figure out how to recycle tricky materials.
It's inspiring because it shows that being a category leader isn't about being a lone wolf. It's about starting a movement. It's about getting people excited about what you're doing.
And these days, that movement has to extend online. Niche Down emphasizes the importance of having a strong online presence.
Right. It's not enough to just have a website.
It's about creating what they call a digital body of work. You know, something that really showcases your expertise.
Right. And these days, when someone hears about you, the first thing they do is Google you.
Oh, for sure.
So what they find online either strengthens your credibility or it hurts it.
Like the book says, you can either position yourself or be positioned.
And it's much better to be in control of the narrative.
Absolutely. One example they give is Seme Handmade. They make custom doors for IKEA furniture.
Such a clever idea.
I know, right? And they got this huge boost when they collaborated with this lifestyle blogger, Sarah Sherman Samuel. She really helped propel their brand on social media.
Even in the digital age, relationships are everything.
It's all about making connections, and those relationships can lead to some really cool opportunities.
So building community and finding creative ways to share your story,
It all ties together.
it does.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we haven't really talked about yet.
What's that?
Money.
Yes.
How do you figure out how much to charge for something that's truly unique, especially when there's no direct competition?
Right. It's tricky.
It is. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others.
And trying to undercut their prices.
Right. But when you're truly niching down,
Yeah.
you're creating something so unique that those comparisons don't even make sense.
It's a whole different ballgame.
So how do you determine your worth?
Well, the authors interviewed this pricing expert, Rafi Mohammed, and he emphasizes the importance of understanding what he calls the perceived value of your offering. It's about so much more than just covering your costs.
So it's not just like materials plus labor equals price.
Right. It's about how you position yourself in the market. It's about justifying a premium price.
Okay, so give me an example.
They use energy drinks. Like if you're totally exhausted and you need a boost, are you going to pay $4 for a 5-hour energy shot or $1 for a cup of coffee?
Well, the coffee probably has more caffeine.
It probably does. But it's about the convenience.
Right. And the perception that the 5-hour energy will work better.
It solves a specific problem. And they compare that to Spanx. Why would someone pay $22 for footless pantyhose when they can get regular pantyhose for $6?
Because Spanx solve a specific problem. They get rid of panty lines and static cling, and they smooth everything out.
It's a whole category they created that justifies the higher price point.
It's brilliant. They escaped the commodity trap.
They did. They're not competing on price. They're offering something that people are willing to pay a premium for.
It's about knowing what you're worth and not being afraid to ask for it.
Exactly. But that takes practice.
It does.
Niche Down talks about refining your pitch.
You have to be able to explain what you do and why it matters.
And they use the example of Sarah Blakely pitching Spanx to Neiman Marcus. She only had 10 minutes to make her case.
By pressure.
And she practiced like crazy to make sure every word counted.
And in the end, she actually ended up giving an impromptu demonstration in the ladies' room.
She was committed.
Talk about going the extra mile. But it proves that being an evangelist for your niche means being ready to share your story in a way that's both compelling and memorable, no matter the circumstances.
And sometimes you need a little humor or something unexpected to really drive your message home.
Like the bacon coffin.
Exactly. It's about finding those creative ways to capture people's attention and leave a lasting impression.
So we've talked about category design. We've talked about becoming an evangelist, building an ecosystem, crafting a compelling story. But where do you even begin? How do you find that perfect noose that's just waiting for you to claim it?
That's where the real self-discovery comes in. Niche Down suggests asking yourself a series of questions, like what are you passionate about? What are your unique strengths?
So it's about looking inward.
It is. They encourage you to look at your industry with fresh eyes. Challenge all those assumptions that hold you back.
To be a disruptor.
Yes. They give the example of Annie Moorhauser. She founded Annie Glass.
Oh, the beautiful glassware.
Yes. And she made a very deliberate choice to keep her manufacturing in the U.S., even though it would have been much cheaper to go overseas.
She wasn't afraid to do things differently.
And she built this thriving business around that. Like, she created this whole experiential retail space where customers can learn about glassmaking. They can even create their own pieces.
It's a reminder that sometimes niching down means challenging those conventional ideas about what it takes to succeed.
And making tough choices.
Sacrifices.
Sometimes. But the authors also suggest looking at industries that are ripe for disruption, like banking.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
They talk about how millennials are not happy with the traditional banking model.
Right, they're looking for something that aligns with their values.
And with their financial needs.
So it's about identifying those pain points, those unmet needs, and then finding creative solutions.
Exactly. And they even highlight the food industry, like the rise of plant-based meat alternatives.
Oh yeah, Beyond Meat and Impossible Burgers.
They're everywhere now. It shows that even in a market that seems totally saturated, there's always room for something new. For a niche solution that caters to those changing consumer preferences.
Speaking of surprising innovations, who would have thought that robots would be making pizzas?
Right. They talk about Zoom Pizza. They use robots to automate the whole pizza making process, and they do it right in the back of their delivery trucks.
It's like a pizza factory on wheels,
It is. Talk about a niche solution to a very specific problem.
keeping those pizzas piping hot.
Exactly. It's a great example of how technology can be used to create something that's both unique and valuable.
But it all comes back to that fundamental question.
Which is,
What problem are you passionate about solving?
and what are the unique skills and perspectives you bring to the table?
It's about knowing yourself and being willing to embrace what makes you different.
And sometimes it means starting before you feel ready.
They tell the story of Jordan Harbinger, the podcasting guru.
He didn't start out as a podcaster.
Really?
Yeah, he was a lawyer, but he saw the potential of podcasting really early on and just decided to go for it.
Even though he didn't have any experience.
Exactly. And now he's like this legendary figure in the podcasting world.
That's wild. It's a reminder that sometimes our own fear of failure holds us back.
That need to feel totally prepared before we take the leap.
But sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most amazing destinations.
It's about embracing the unknown, being willing to experiment, and allowing yourself to evolve as you go.
And the book also points out that failure is an inevitable part of the process.
You can't let it stop you.
Right. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it.
And using it as fuel.
They quote Bill Walton, the NBA legend.
He was all about having a plan and being able to bounce back from setbacks.
It's about having that drive, that determination.
That's what separates the legendary from everyone else.
I love that. So we've talked about the power of niching down, the importance of category design, becoming an evangelist,
Yeah.
building a supportive ecosystem,
Yeah.
and crafting a compelling story.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're just getting started.
I know there's so much more to unpack.
This book is packed with insights and examples.
And what I think makes it so special is that it's not just about business.
It's about life.
It's a whole philosophy. Like, it encourages us to think about our legacy, what kind of impact we want to have on the world,
To use our talents to create something that will outlast us.
to leave our mark.
So how do we put these ideas into practice?
Well, the book has some really practical advice.
Let's dive into that.
They talk about starting by defining your why. Like, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
It's about more than just making money.
Much more. It's about finding work that aligns with your values.
Your purpose.
Exactly. They make the point that when you're driven by a sense of purpose, your work becomes more than just a job. It becomes a mission.
And that's what gives you the energy and the resilience to overcome obstacles.
Especially when things get tough.
They also talk about the importance of focusing on a specific problem that resonates with you.
They use Tom Saki, the founder of TerraCycle, as an example.
He's the one who's obsessed with solving the problem of waste.
Right. Like, his whole life revolves around finding value in things that other people just throw away.
It's amazing.
And that passion is what drives his company's success.
So find your passion and figure out how to turn it into a business.
It's a winning formula. They also suggest looking at industries that are ripe for disruption.
Like banking.
Exactly. You know, millennials are looking for something different.
They want a banking system that reflects their values.
And that meets their needs.
So it's about finding those pain points,
Mhm.
those areas where the current solutions are falling short.
They call them category vulnerabilities.
Like those cracks in the foundation that are just waiting for someone to come along and shake things up.
Exactly. They suggest asking yourself, is your industry dominated by these big, slow-moving companies? You know, companies that are out of touch with what people actually want.
So find the dinosaurs and disrupt them.
It's about being observant and curious
Yeah.
and challenging those assumptions that everyone else just takes for granted.
They use the example of Ethos, the all-female fitness club.
Oh, yeah. They saw that a lot of women felt intimidated by regular gyms.
So they created a space that was welcoming and supportive.
And they tailored it specifically to women's needs.
It's a great example of how niching down can mean focusing on a very specific segment of the market.
One that's being underserved by the existing options.
And they also talk about contrarian truths,
Those insights that go against conventional wisdom.
like the things that make you go, wait a minute, what if?
Exactly. They give the example of Tim Rode, this real estate agent who specialized in helping people sell their homes quickly.
He wasn't the agent for everyone.
Right. He was the go-to guy for people who needed to sell their house fast.
And he built this wildly successful business around that.
Which proves that sometimes the most lucrative niches are the ones that seem counterintuitive.
So don't be afraid to go against the grain.
Sometimes that's where the real magic happens.
Okay, so we've talked about defining your why. We've talked about finding category vulnerabilities and embracing those contrarian truths. What's next?
They emphasize the importance of having a strong point of view, or POV.
Ah, yes. Like your unique perspective on the problem you're trying to solve.
And why it matters.
That's what makes you stand out.
Exactly. They suggest asking yourself, what's the problem you're solving and why is it important? What's your unique approach? And what are the benefits?
It's about more than just describing what you do. It's about articulating the value you bring.
They use method as an example again. They didn't just say, we make better cleaning products.
They were like, we make eco-friendly and stylish cleaning products.
They tapped into this whole idea of conscious consumerism.
It was about more than just cleaning. It was about making a statement about your values and your lifestyle.
It was brilliant.
Your POV is like your brand story. It's the narrative that connects you with your audience and sets you apart from the competition.
And Niche Down really stresses that your POV should be both provocative and aspirational.
So challenge the status quo, but also paint a picture of a better future.
And make sure your POV is reflected in everything you do.
So from your marketing materials to your product design to how you interact with customers.
It's about consistency.
Okay, so we've defined our why. We've found a category vulnerability. We've embraced a contrarian truth. And we've crafted a compelling POV. Now what?
Now it's time to test your ideas.
To get out there and see what works.
Exactly. Niche Down emphasizes the importance of gathering feedback.
And being willing to iterate.
They make it very clear that niching down is an ongoing process. You're constantly testing your assumptions, you're gathering feedback from your target audience, and you're making adjustments as you go.
It's about being flexible and adaptable.
They tell the story of Sarah Blakely again. When she first started out, she was selling Spanx out of the trunk of her car.
Talgo scrappy.
She wasn't afraid to talk to potential customers and get their feedback.
So valuable.
And she used that feedback to improve her product and her marketing.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to learn is by doing.
Don't let perfectionism hold you back. Embrace imperfection.
And learn from your mistakes.
Okay, so you've tested your ideas, you've gathered feedback, you've refined your approach. What's the next step?
Building a brand.
Yes. And Niche Down really emphasizes the importance of a strong brand identity. It's not enough to just have a great product.
You have to create a brand that people connect with.
They talk about Apple.
They're like the gold standard of branding.
They are, and their brand is all about innovation and design and user experience.
And their customers are fiercely loyal.
Which allows them to charge a premium for their products.
Right, they can weather any storm because their brand is so strong.
So it's about more than just a logo or a tagline. It's about creating a consistent and compelling experience for your customer.
And being authentic.
And transparent.
And consistent in your messaging.
Like John's Crazy Socks. They've built this amazing brand around their commitment to selling colorful socks.
And supporting the Special Olympics.
And creating a positive work environment.
Their brand reflects their values.
And it resonates with their customers.
And remember, building a strong brand takes time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, so we've built a strong brand. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
Community. Niche Down emphasizes the importance of building a community around your brand.
So it's about more than just attracting customer.
It's about creating a tribe of loyal followers who believe in what you're doing.
You want people to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
And you do that by creating a sense of belonging.
And fostering a shared passion.
They use Jack O'Neill again as an example. He didn't just sell wetsuits, he created this whole surfing community.
And Rich Novak, the skateboarding pioneer. He brought competitors together to collaborate.
It was about building something that was bigger than any one individual or company.
And these days, social media is essential for building community.
It's a powerful tool for connecting with people and sharing your story.
And remember, building a community takes time and effort.
You have to consistently engage with your audience.
And provide value.
And create a sense of shared purpose.
Because at the end of the day, your community is your most valuable asset.
It's the foundation of your success.
So it's about more than just transactions.
It's about building authentic relationships.
And creating a movement that goes beyond just buying and selling.
Exactly. And your community is going to be your best source of feedback too. Plus, they'll inspire you and support you along the way.
It's really cool how this book, Niche Down, brings together all these different things, business strategy, and community building, even personal growth. Like, it's not just about achieving success out there in the world.
Right.
It's about finding fulfillment in your life.
They really push you to think about your legacy.
Wow.
Like, what kind of impact do you want to have on the world? How can you use your unique skills and your passions to create something that's going to last?
Something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
So it's not just about a job or a company you're building.
Right.
It's about building a life that really matters.
It all comes back to that idea that we keep talking about, you know? Becoming legendary, that's a choice you make every day.
Yeah, it's about showing up and doing the work.
And not giving up, even when things get tough.
And it's so much easier to do that when you surround yourself with the right people.
People who believe in you and your vision.
Your community, your
Yeah.
mentors, those people who inspire you to be your best.
It's so important to find your tribe,
Yeah, the people who get you.
who share your values and your desire to make a difference.
It's a good reminder that you're not alone on this journey.
There are so many people out there who are trying to do amazing things.
And when we connect with each other, when we support each other.
We can make a bigger impact.
So it's not just about individual achievement, it's about collective action.
It's about creating a movement.
Something bigger than any one of us.
The book leaves you with a really powerful challenge.
Oh yeah, what is it?
They ask, what will your legacy be? What unique contribution will you make to the world?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is.
It's a good reminder that we all have the potential to leave a mark, to make a difference,
Yeah.
to be legendary in our own way.
Find your niche.
Yeah.
Embrace what makes you different.
And use it to fuel your creativity.
Create something amazing.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree. This was an inspiring deep dive.
It really was. If you're listening, I highly recommend you check out Niche Down. It's a book that will challenge you, inspire you, and give you the tools to create a life that is truly legendary. Thanks for joining us.